A home fire is one of the worst things that can happen to any property. The rental property fire can bring down the entire property along with everything inside of it. This is not only a huge blow to both the landlord and property owner, but the tenants as well. After the fire, it can be difficult to know exactly what the course of action should be. So in this guide, we will be going over the most appropriate course of action for property owners to use after suffering a fire on personal property or rental property. To begin, let's go over some of the potential losses that can occur due to a property fire. One of the most important things to note during a property fire is the scope of the damage. It is essential to determine this as quickly as possible because this is what will tell the insurance company how much needs to be repaired. Let's go over some of the losses that can occur from a fire. Number one is, of course, property damage. The first thing that is noted after a property fire is damage to the property itself. This means things like walls, ceilings, windows, basically all the structural components of the property. If the fire department's report determines that it is safe to enter the property, there was probably not too much structural damage. If there was more structural damage, the property would not be marked as safe. A few precautions that can be taken to remediate the smoke are investing in an ozone generator machine, which can be found on Amazon. You can also paint every wall, door, ceiling, crown molding with special paint like the Fiberlock Recon Ultra Smoke Odor Sealer, which can be found at Lowe's home improvement stores. It is also important to look at things like kitchen countertops and cabinets, as these can be easily affected by fire damage. After documenting the damage on the major components of the property, you may begin to document any personal belongings that were damaged. Personal belongings. Typically, fires occur in properties that have residents residing in them. This means that the tenant's belongings were probably damaged as well. When it comes to the tenant's belongings, it very much depends on the cause of the fire. For example, if the fire was caused by extreme landlord negligence, the landlord can be sued for the cost of belongings. However, if the fire occurs because of anything else, it is up to the renter's insurance to cover them. Depending on the type of insurance company and the kind of liability insurance the tenant had, all financial losses of a fire can potentially be covered. This includes medical bills, property damages, lost wages, and potentially even legal fees. Relocation cost. If the fire was caused by the negligence of the landlord, they may be responsible for providing the tenant with a place to stay while the repairs are being done. This can get extremely expensive because apart from the landlord's repair efforts, they must also provide housing for the affected tenants. This is even worse when the landlord is responsible for multiple tenants in a single property. Then the landlord pays for housing for each of the tenants until the property is back. The landlord also loses rental payments from that time that the tenants are out of the property. However, many landlords invest in their own insurance, which will most likely cover most, if not all, of these costs. So, now that we know about the cost of a property fire, let's go over some of the other steps that are involved. After a house fire is occurred, it is super important that you document everything. As with almost everything in property management, it is super important to document everything. After the fire department has cleared the property, it is time for you to conduct your own investigation. In this investigation, it is vital that you document everything that you see, smell, or even hear. Since all of this can be used in a potential lawsuit, it can even save you money. It's also super important in the process of filing an insurance claim. Also, since the landlord's deductible can be affected by the damages, they would not want any extra damages being reported. The landlord should also inspect all rental agreements to make sure that they are knowledgeable of any language about property damage within the agreement. If the lease does not have anything on it regarding property damage or renter's insurance, it may be a sign for the landlord to make some lease provisions. Determine liability. After documenting everything and speaking with the tenant and fire department, the cause of the fire should be known. Once the cause of the fire is known, liability can be determined. As mentioned before, the landlord's insurance will typically be responsible for covering a large chunk of the cost. However, this is only if the fire was caused by some structural faulty element. If not, the tenant may be liable for all the damages caused by the fire. In this case, the landlord's insurance company may seek the tenant's insurer for coverage of the cost. If the company provides limited coverage or the tenant does not have insurance at all, the landlord's insurance may seek compensation from the tenants themselves. Begin repairing immediately. This is especially important if the landlord is bearing all of the fire costs themselves. In this case, the landlord already has to pay for damages, relocation, and even the tenant's inconvenience. The last thing the landlord would want is to have a vacant property for an extended period of time. Another thing that is important to note is that the landlord should never do this work themselves. This is because damages from fires are usually much more severe than typical property damages. Getting the property re-inspected. One of the final things that should always be done on the rental property is getting it reinspected. By getting the property reinspected, you can officially continue renting it out to the original tenants, or you can list it back on the market and find a different set of tenants. Without reinspection, the tenants might not feel comfortable coming back to the property. Also, this is the only way for a property to get a certificate of occupancy, which is the only way for the property to be released. The laws regarding this may be different regarding the state where the property is located. If you want to learn more about your state's landlord-tenant laws, check out DoorLoop's laws page to learn more. Thank you for watching this video on the importance of being cautious and providing support in the event of a property fire. As we have discussed, a fire can result in heavy financial and personal losses, and it is crucial to take all necessary precautions to prevent such a disaster. And if it does occur, it's important to remember that the tenants affected may be going through a difficult time, so providing them with support can make a huge difference. Let's all work together to keep our properties safe and support those in need. Thank you again for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more helpful tips and tricks from DoorLoop.